Welcome to Hindsight Hacking. I'm Corey Carter.
And I'm Ron Cool, and you are listening to Hindsight Hacking, where we have talked to hundreds of entrepreneurs hacking their hindsight to give you clearer foresight.
And now, as we still bring you these same great, amazing interviews each and every week, we are adding bits and pieces to serve you in such a great way. These bits and pieces are some mindset hacks, visibility hacks, traffic hacks, and more on the Daily Hack. So we want to make sure that you have all the tools and all the resources that you need to gain more visibility and gain more traffic.
And obviously, to get more sales. So head over to gethhm.com/toolbox to grab your free resources to get the help you need to get more.
And if you're interested, after you collect all those freebies, because they're amazing, hit the link in the show notes and jump on our calendar because we definitely want to help you.
Guys, we absolutely love the community that we've created with your guys' help, and we love all the Hindsight Hackers. So jump on in and get on our calendar.
So without further ado, what do you say? Let's get to it. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another Hindsight Hacking episode with a very, very special guest, the one and only Mr. Blake MALLEN. Now, for those that don't know him, Blake, he is a $1 billion brand builder. Yes, I said that right. $1 billion brand builder. Now, he is an expert in marketing. He is a TEDx speaker, host of the popular show, Alive by Design podcast, and so much more. Travels the world, speaking everywhere, teaching everywhere, and one of my favorite TEDx talks in the world, Shift the Script. We're going to be talking about a lot because, honestly, it changed the direction of both Ron and I. So, Blake, man, I am so excited that you're here. We are so blessed to have you, and thanks for joining us today.
Happy to be here, Corey. You forgot the most important bullet in the bio, brother.
The most important.
Most important is I'm related to Ron Cool. I mean, come on. That's the most important part of the bio. We've got family on the line here.
Next time I'll get that in there.
Hey, it's good to be here. I've been watching you guys ever since the inception of this idea, and just congrats on everything you guys have been doing and the impact you've been making. It's inspiring.
We appreciate it. So Blake, obviously, yes, we are family. So I have learned so much through just connecting with you a little bit more. But before we get into that, why don't you take a brief couple minutes and just let the audience know a little bit more about Blake?
Well, that can be a long answer, but I'll try to keep it short. So for all of you guys, Blake MALLEN, good to connect with all of you. Very easy to find online. So if we're not connected, say hello. But here in my home office in Southern California. So right now out of Pacific Palisades, a nice little town right between Santa Monica and Malibu. And, married to my high school sweetheart. We'll be celebrating 21 years this year. Kind of crazy to think about it. And two little ones in the household. So 5-year-old son, Grayson, 2.5-year-old daughter, Sadie. Been a crazy time through the last 2020, 2021, little ones in the house, given quarantine and COVID and everything we've been going through, but enjoying, fairly new fatherhood and that level of living. And obviously, Ron, an entrepreneur now, primarily in the community-based marketing space, man, over 2 decades. Yeah. So coming up on 21 years as an entrepreneur and it's been quite a journey and still is.
Well, I mean, let's talk about that a little bit more. 2 decades. So you were 19 years old when you jumped in. And so tell the audience, like, it doesn't matter when you start, what age you start, like you can do it, whether you're 19, whether you're 90, 91, like tell us about that experience for you and why basically anybody can do this.
Yeah, entrepreneurship in general. So for me, it wasn't like a door that was a epiphany opening or a life-changing moment. I was going to school down in San Diego. So a little quick context on my background. For those of you that maybe did not grow up with business or entrepreneurship or any of this in your household or having those conversations at your dining room table, I can definitely relate. I'll give you the quick snapshot by telling you that I grew up in a household where my father was a police officer. So law enforcement his entire life, highway patrol, sheriff, worked for the state. And my mom, an educator. So a teacher, a counselor, and ultimately a principal. And that's not the punchline of a joke. My parents were a principal and a cop. So you can feel for my pain for sure. But I share that, Corey, because it gives you an insight. I grew up super, let's just say traditional, kind of follow the rules. And went to school down in San Diego, UCSD, to what I thought was follow a path of law. And it's kind of interesting looking back, but I had the impression growing up that to be successful, and we all want to be successful in my household, it was like, well, you're a lawyer or you're a doctor or you're a failure. At least that's what I felt. I don't know if that pressure was literally put onto me, but that's what I was, felt at the time. So yeah, I was going to school at UCSD, getting degrees, political science, public law, psychology, and fell into entrepreneurship. Man, total random accident. You can call it serendipity. I don't believe anything happens by coincidence. And for me, it actually started, I don't know if you guys have ever heard this story. It actually started on an AOL instant message. Do you guys remember AOLIM? Do you guys remember that?
Oh my gosh, yes. Unbelievable.
So, hey, we're dating ourselves here, but hey, back when we had AOL,
right.
You got mail, America Online. I was sitting in my dorm room one night, and I had someone hit me up on instant message that I had gone to high school with, an acquaintance, not like a great friend, but someone I had a relationship with. And, all kidding aside, Corey, this was literally the question. I got an instant pop-up in front of me on my computer screen. They just said, you want to make some extra money. That's it. Full stop. Right. To which I replied, sure. To which they replied, awesome. Show up at this place at this neighboring college later this week at this time at this place. To which I replied, okay. And I kid you not, that was the full AOL instant message. I had no idea what I was getting my into. In hindsight, I don't really know what I was thinking. Like that could have been anything, like late night, college campus, you want to make an extra quick buck, show up. But I've never been one that was like a natural skeptic. I'm not a cynical person. I'm a believer of people by nature. And I was like, okay, sure. Sounds good. I know this guy. And long story short, ended up, showing up to a conversation and really opening my eyes for the very first time to any sort of kind of entrepreneurial venture, and ended up pulling the trigger, not as like a life altering event, but hey, this looked like something fun to do. The people seemed, motivated, inspiring. And quite honestly, I was putting myself through school, and anything that could have helped me, pay for some of the student loans to graduate with less debt, I was open to. And that was the first door that opened to a window of opportunity, I guess, that started my road of entrepreneurship. That's the true story.
Oh my gosh. So that is, again, nothing by happenstance or coincidence. So that's amazing. So I've been following the Walk With Me things you've been doing, which has been amazing, but I want to touch base on your TED Talk. So that was the thing that just got my attention. I had the entrepreneur bug for years, did a bunch of different things, but that's when we were about to have our third child and we were like, oh my gosh, what should we be doing? Right? Is this the life that I'm supposed to be doing? Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing this and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to show people. So I remember I called Corey. I was like, at that time we worked together. I was like, come to my office, and we shut the door. And I was like, just watch this. That's, I don't know if we've even told you that story, but we're working. I was like, just watch this. And he's like, oh, okay, I don't know if my wife's going to let me do anything like this, right? Because that was something that she had some bad experiences in the past. And I was like, but if you think about the actual contents of shifting and how it's shifted from here, to 40 years ago. And I think we're in this amazing shift right now where people used to do things in person, used to do things in conferences and getting together. Now they're online. So this shift is so relevant right now. And your talk was done. When was this? 2 years ago?
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
Yeah. And it put Corey and I on this trajectory of entrepreneurship that was perfect timing, exactly when we needed it. And we've shared that TED Talk so many times. And I love the behind the scenes where you guys are walking through the door and getting up on the stage. But I kind of want to take you right back to then. How did it feel knowing you were about to go on that stage and deliver a message that could outlast you?
That was profound. You just gave me chills. And no, I appreciate the kind words. And obviously, Ron, I remember we were in pretty close conversation back then. And I know you were in kind of a pivot point in your life. And it just makes me feel awesome to know that the conversation helped me with that shift. That was the intention behind it. It's an interesting story. So the TED Talk at a high level, awesome experience. I'm a big fan of the TED organization, the TED platform. And for those of you guys that watch this or listen to the podcast, check out TED. It's just an amazing library of inspiring thought leaders and ideas. Definitely something to add to kind of your personal growth regimen for sure. But I actually knew some of the organization that was helping host the event right here in LA. So that was actually hosted by the Watts Empowerment Center here kind of in Los Angeles, kind of deep Los Angeles. And it's a great organization. They do so much for the community. And we're talking like inner city. And they do a lot for a next generation of our youth that, quite frankly, are in environments that might lead them in the wrong direction if they didn't have someone to help them make a shift. So it's an amazing organization. They hosted the TEDx, and I got the invite. I actually got the invite to give that conversation with a little over a week's notice. Which is crazy if you think about it. Like I know people that prepare years to stand on the red circle, and the experience can be rather nerve-wracking. Like you have one shot, 18 minutes or less, live audience, and it is forever captured on the internet, right, as your message to the world. And it can definitely be nerve-wracking. But to be really honest with you, Ron, even with the invite, obviously my instant reaction was yes, without a hesitation. You have the honor of standing on that red circle and delivering an idea you're passionate about. You say yes, and then you figure out how. And to be honest, the message came rather fluid. It took a lot of work, don't get me wrong. Like I was stressed for a week. But it came rather fluid because it really was my story, my passion, my belief system that I'd been obsessing over, right? Just to be really direct, for most of my life. So it wasn't a new thought or a new idea. It was literally something I'd been focused on and thinking about and reflecting on in my own life and applying to my own life. And then obviously as an entrepreneur over the last 20 years, sharing a lot of the principles and philosophies with the entrepreneurs I work with. So it was really just organizing something that I already had in my head. And I guess piggybacking, the question of, what's it about or where's the story? And it goes back to the moment I shared, Corey, of the door that opened to entrepreneurship. That was the door that opened it. That wasn't the shift moment, right? That was where I was like, okay, this is a new group of people. But the TED Talk actually begins with sharing my story. That was the first kind of shift moment for me, where I didn't just start a business in my dorm room or, begin, an entrepreneurial venture, but where I actually made the decision that that's the path I was going to move on. And I remember it super clearly. It was actually right after my sophomore year, so summer of my sophomore year in college. I was interning for a district attorney's office out in Ventura County, California. And it was like the cliche, horrible, what you would expect, interning for an attorney. I was literally spending every day filing giant manila folders for these attorneys, like hating where my time was going, but telling myself, well, this is, the price I have to pay, right? This is what I got to do to build my resume. This is just, how it's done. And there was a moment in my life where someone who was kind of a mentor figure, probably sensing that I was just frustrated, miserable. Like all my friends are having fun with their summer vacation and I'm filing freaking manila envelopes. And he just stopped me and asked me like a super simple question. He said, Blake, why are you doing it? And I don't know if any of you guys have ever had a simple question or words from another just hit you like a ton of bricks. Like it might as well been someone punching you in the gut or smacking you upside the head, but with words. And that was that moment for me because I didn't have a good answer. And the only answer I had, and you've heard this, Ron Corey in the TED Talk is, well, isn't this what I'm supposed to do? And that was that shift moment. That was me sitting there going, wow, am I really living my life for no better reason than it's what I've been told I was supposed to do? And that was the awakening moment. That was the aha. That was the first shift, right? That was the wake up call, whatever analogy you want to call it, where I said, wow, I've literally spent 19 years following a path without ever questioning, is it the right path? And for no other reason than the expectations of others. And that was it. I mean, that was the beginning of it. I shouldn't say that was it. That was the beginning of the awareness that then led me to ask different questions, look at things a different way, find different environment and mentors, look for different vehicles, that ultimately led to what is now a 20-year plus career as an entrepreneur. But those were the first two moments. So I guess the first moment was the door opening, but that shift moment was really the decision made that put me on that path. And the rest of the TED Talk, we went on to go more into it, is really explaining not just that story, but how all of us, many of us, I should say, have this, what I call a script, which is kind of short for like a prescription we've been given for how to live. And the TED Talk addresses kind of a global script. It seems like everybody I've ever met in every country around the world has been given. It's crazy we have this global script, where it came from, why it doesn't work today, yet we're still following it. And then really transcends not just the global script of life, but how we're operating every day on all kinds of smaller scripts that we've been given by other individuals without ever really realizing, is this the right script I should be following for my own life? And then a framework for kind of how to shift that. So without giving away the TED Talk, you guys can just, if you search my name on the TED website or TED YouTube or go to shiftthescript.com, you can watch the TED Talk. But that's kind of the high level of, the invite, the process of it, and then just the opportunity to share my passion with the world. And I love hearing how people have used it in their own life to make the shift and do so every day. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, Blake, it makes me want to go watch it right now. Honestly, like it's really funny the impact that had on both Ron and I. But I just remember Ron and I both, we grew corporate ladders. We went that direction. We enjoyed basically one piece of our jobs, which was helping people and coaching people and developing people. But we could have cared less about the rest of the job that had nothing to do with anything. And it wasn't, for me, for 100%, it wasn't until I saw your TED Talk and I was like, all right, I am done doing what I'm supposed to do. And now I need to figure out what I need to do, what we really were meant to do, and how we can shift. And so A, thank you for that. And then B, you had this, you had already grown a company to $1 billion at that point. You had already been coaching and teaching and developing people on stages around the globe. So 1 week to come up with that conversation, and actually deliver it. And so that's my question. The delivery, you're an expert on stage with how you deliver any message from, I've seen you speak on multiple stages, teaching different things, and you're an expert there 100%. So how did you get to that point? How did you become the master of the stage and delivering your message with the right inflections and just all that stuff when you're teaching up there?
Well, I appreciate the compliments. There's definitely people that are far more skilled than I, but it is something I enjoy. I love educating. I love teaching. I love empowering. I love inspiring. So I appreciate that. And I guess the irony, and Corey, I don't know if I've ever even shared this with anybody, but like people ask me that question. They go, where'd you learn to do that? Is it natural? And exactly the opposite. Like growing up, I was so shy and maybe even to the point of like insecure or lacking confidence. In hindsight, I look back and, was the kid in class that was like afraid to read out loud, when the teacher was going around and like, don't call on me, don't call on me, don't call on me, don't call on me. And that wasn't just like grade school. Like that was me through high school. I mean, even through college, I remember sitting in there as a freshman year with all these smart people around me. And my first classes, like having that anxiety over just like reading out loud in a group. I remember growing up, and I used to get social anxiety just being around people. If I was just walking through the hall, I would get social anxiety being around. So it's interesting looking back, because I wouldn't say like it was a natural thing, but just like anything else, people always go, well, what class did you take, or where do I go to get better? And I wish I had an answer, because I didn't take that route. Like I know Toastmasters is a great organization. I know there's, a lot of classes and master classes you can take, and I'm sure all of those will help and do amazing things. I've never participated in any of them. For me, it's just been the old school methodology of do it over and 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 over again. And I have, starting from one person that'll listen to small groups in living rooms that'll listen to, small groups in hotel rooms that'll listen. And it just starts that way over and over and over. And repetition, is the best teacher, all the way to, the biggest event I hosted, we took over the American Airlines Arena where the Miami Heat play, and we had 18,000 people show up. And the energy was just unreal, standing in the center and having this full arena, and everywhere in between. But just like anything else, I'd say just doing it. And, the guidance that I can say is just, speak from the heart. Speak from the heart. When I get in front of a room, right before I get in front of a room, I don't care if it's a small room or an arena full of people, I will take deep breaths. I will try to get out of my head, right, and into my heart. And I'll usually just have a conversation, call it with myself, or, call it with, God or the universe, whatever your belief system is. And I'll say, look, allow me to connect, allow me to inspire, right? Allow me to make an impact today. And that's kind of the conversation I'll tell myself before I have any conversation. And then you just let it flow. And I've found that it's not about perfection. I know you mentioned like, whatever, rhythm or voice tone, all that stuff, I guess it's important. And I know the most effective speakers in the world probably spend a lot of time at that. I think more important though than your delivery tools or techniques is your intention. Are you out there speaking from the heart? Are you really trying to connect to the person? Is the message you're delivering about you, or is it really about them? And I think if your intention is right, you can be imperfect. You can mess up, you can stutter, you can use clutter words, all that stuff will be forgiven. And vice versa, you can have all of that perfect. And if you don't have the right intention with where you're at, I don't think your message is going to land where you want. So at least that's my philosophy. And, for those of you guys that are speaking in front of people, again, it starts with one, then maybe it's a couple, then maybe it's a couple more. That's where we all start. Everybody starts with an empty room before it fills, and come with the right intention, speak from the heart, and get in the reps. And I think you'll find yourself moving forward, and your message will land on the right people.
Oh my gosh, that is so true. I mean, anybody that follows you, you come from such a genuine place of wanting to help somebody. It shines through, and that's why you have the impact on the people that you have impact with, right? So the message is relatable. It's very honest and true to your core values, which then draws people to you. And that is something that you don't see very often out there. There's a lot of gurus that sell things, right? But you honestly go at it to help somebody get better at something that they want to do. And that's shines through and through. So that's amazing. But I want to talk a little bit about building brands. You are the expert, as far as I'm concerned, $2 billion brands. So check, you've done that. I don't know a lot of people that can do that. And you're building this amazing brand of your own, two of them, your personal and the Shift the Script brand. So give the audience just a couple little tidbits that they can use in building their own brand.
Oh, I appreciate that. So yeah, most of my experience, I guess, in brand building is the more entrepreneurial or say corporate right direction. So, I started a company, 15, 16 years ago, from an idea with some amazing partners. You never get anything to that level or that size by yourself. I mean, and if you say or think you do, you're probably lying to yourself and others. So it's always a collective team and a collective effort. But yeah, built an amazing company brand within that. A lot of product brands have launched products primarily in the nutrition space, wellness space that have done a couple billion in sales, worldwide. Weight loss and transformation campaigns that really inspired the whole challenge marketing craze. I guess we're really one of the first that mainstream using a challenge to bring a conversation or a product to the world. And it was a hugely successful campaign for us. So most of my experience, for context, everybody listening, has been in more that space. But translating that into, Ron, as you said, kind of a personal brand direction is newer for me. And it is something that's still kind of spare time as a passion project, because my full time is still building brands, working, with the company that I'm aligned with right now. We're doing amazing things in the ketones space, a technology, and really a biohack I'm super excited about. So that's still where my time and my effort and my energy goes. But I have, over the last years, as you said, spent a little time in this personal brand space, because it just hit me that today, like, if you really are passionate about something, and you want to make an impact, your personal brand is going to amplify your ability to make that impact. You can have an awesome message, an awesome idea, an awesome conversation. It can be spot on, the exact thing people need. But if you don't have a platform to get that message heard, right, that message is never going to make an impact if it's, stuck inside a box. So I do believe today, like, building a personal brand is absolutely an intelligent strategy, no matter who you are. And no matter what direction you're in right now or what direction you want to go. It's obviously something, when it comes to a personal brand, that is your asset for life, because it is you, no matter what your current project is or will be in the future, right? Times change, things shift, right? Some things start, some things end. That's exciting. That's a part of life, but you are always going to be you. So the investment you make into building a personal brand, if done right, I think can transcend any single point of your life or single project. It's something that can amplify everything you do for the rest of your time. And that's the conversation I'm not just having with you. That's the conversation I had with myself, right? So that's where I was like, I really gotta spend a little bit of time at least getting myself out there so I can do what I want to do. And again, goes back to the intention of just making an impact on people's lives, waking people up, showing people there is another way. So I say that just for those of you guys out there that are contemplating, like, should I? Let me give you your answer. Yes. Okay. When should you? Let me give you your answer now. If there's anything that if I could go back and tell myself, like, I wish I would have started earlier, but I was the individual that was so overly focused on my traditional business. I didn't want to take even a minute away from my company to build my brand. And initially I would tell myself, like, building my brand is time away. I'm not building my company. And I had to shift that script in my own head to no. Taking the time to build your personal brand actually amplifies or multiplies the effect or influence you can have on your company. And that is a shift I had to make as well. So for those of you guys that are listening out there, again, if you're looking to make the leap, right, you should. If you're like me and you're already full-time, overtime, passionate about a company, a business, a direction, and you're contemplating maybe, spending some time on the personal brand level, I wouldn't look at it as in competition to. I would look at it as a way to amplify what you already do and will do. So that's kind of the strategy. And then, what you guys do, you guys are experts. I mean, I know you have people all over the world now coming to you to help with the tools and the platforms and how to do it. I mean, there is a system. So, you guys have kind of dialed in the system of it. And, for me, I guess it's two things. It's how do you amplify you, right? So you don't have to figure out a brand. You just have to do the reflection of who are you, right? What is the message you want to bring to the world? You got to get in tune with that, which you don't have to create. You already are, right? It's just a matter of getting in touch and clarifying. And then you partner up with, obviously, experts like you guys that can then wrap the systems, the tools, the steps to get that message out to the world. So I don't know if that answers your question, Ron, but that's kind of my thoughts real quick on kind of why, kind of how, and maybe, the first steps for those contemplating.
That's perfect.
Yes. All right. So Blake, everyone that listens or watches Hindsight Hacking, they usually hear me ask about hindsight, but I'm going to flip it a little bit. I'm going to give 3 questions, throw you a curveball.
Oh my goodness.
Rapid fire.
Okay.
It goes back to about your values. So I'm going to ask you basically in hindsight, or give us a reason why these are your values, because of hopefully something that happened in the past that you're like, oh, nope, that doesn't work. That doesn't fit. That is going to be better in the future. And so kind of along those lines. So why faith over fear?
They can't coexist, right? So I don't believe that faith and fear can coexist at the same time. So one is always going to be in charge. Problem is, for a lot of us, especially now, like, there's just a lot of stuff that can trigger a lot of fear response, and rightfully so. Like, I'm not saying that that's unexcused. Like, it's totally rational. There's so much stuff out there, myself included, that constantly triggers a fear. And you guys, fear comes masked in a lot of words, right? A uncertainty, a stress, an anxiety, a depression, an unknown, right? We mask all these different terms that at the end of the day, if we get to the root, it is a fear. And in my experience, the only antidote to that feeling is a faith. Now, I don't want to turn people off. I want to be mindful and respectful of everybody's spiritual beliefs. But I do believe that at the end of the day, we all should have some faith in something greater than ourselves. Whether you call that God or the creator or a source or the universe, or insert whatever language you want to use. I think a belief in something greater than ourselves, and a faith that whatever that belief system is for you will never give you something you can't handle, that everything put in front of you is designed to make you better, that even the things that we don't want doesn't mean it's not the things that we need, right, to maybe make us more of who we're meant to be. I think that type of belief system can only serve you. And we get to choose our belief system, right? I mean, we get to choose it. It's a choice on what we believe. So why not choose faith over fear? And if I were to back up and just keep it really simple, like, if you could have one or the other, like, why would you live in fear when you can choose to live in faith? You have that choice. So that's kind of my thoughts around that value.
Right. And then again, like, family first, right? You have your high school sweetheart. I'm sure growing $1 billion company, you chose business first, right? Like, I'm sure there was times where you're like, oh, I need to switch this, or maybe you were way better than us or me, and you never made that issue. But like, what I know that's a value now. I know that obviously you've got the family around you in the house probably at this moment, but yeah, family first. Tell me about that one.
So to answer your question, no, I mean, I was the epitome of the overachiever, do, workaholic, overly obsessed, go for a long time, Corey, like a long time, like 15 years straight. And like, when I say straight, I mean literally straight. And I'm not going to say that doesn't work, because it worked. For what my intention was at that time, like, it worked. I made my first $1 million by age 25, right? I did that tens of times over before I was 30. Ron, you said it. I built a company with an amazing team and partners that did billions of sales before I was early 30s. Like, most people would say, check. Like, that's the goal list. And I don't say that like to brag. I just say it to, like, for those of you out there that are in the grind right now, and you're putting in the time and you are sacrificing, I just want you to know, I don't know of any other way to collapse time and multiply your results if those are your goals. I did that too. And I just want to say it got me to where I thought I wanted to go. And I don't want to sugarcoat that you can get there without sacrifice and hard work, because I don't know another way. It does take all of that. But there's a but, right? And the but comes with maybe what you don't want to hear. And this is just my experience. It may not be your truth. It's my truth. And it goes back to, man, I followed a script for 19 years of my life, and then I made a shift to entrepreneurship. Shoot, I spent the next 10 years thinking I shifted off the traditional script, but man, I just followed another success script, didn't I? And I followed the script of go, 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 do, never call in sick, sacrifice. You can always do more, right? And I got the results that I thought I wanted. But then got to the top of that mountain and realized, man, something's still missing. Like there's got to be more. And some of you that have achieved maybe different levels of success in your life, and I'm sure many people that are listening you probably can relate that you get there and you thought you told yourself when this happens, you'll feel this way, and it doesn't. And I don't want to give you or ruin, right, your punchline, but for those of you guys that are grinding and striving right now, and you think that getting that result, that paycheck, that business goal, if you think that's going to be the end all be all, I'm just here to let you know, in my experience, it isn't. It helps, right? Lifestyle helps, money helps, quality of living helps. You'd rather have it than not, for sure. You deserve to find that out for yourself. But I think at the end of the day, what we all eventually realize is quality life comes down to quality relationships. It comes down to the people we surround ourselves with. It comes down to the people, right, that are with us every single day, regardless of the scoreboard. And, hopefully we all have close friends in proximity that are that for us. But our inner circle for all of us, for most, is our family, right? Our family is the ones that are with us unconditionally on the good days and bad days, the highs and the lows. And for me, I had to come to the place to realize, wow, that is a priority. It's not a distraction, right? Spending time with your significant other or spouse is a priority, just as, if not more important, right, than your business. Spending time with your kids, right, is the priority, if not more important than others. So for me, Corey, it didn't come naturally. It's something I've had to learn and, again, shift in my own mind. And it's something that, I'm loving. Like, I love spending time. I think, if there's a blessing of COVID and quarantine all last year, is I've been able to spend more time with, my family and my kids at such a precious age. It's crazy and loud in the house all the time. But that's why I put family first. It's a reminder for me. And I think it's something that, especially us overachievers out there and entrepreneurs, it'll burn the candle at both ends. We need to remind ourselves, like, that is a priority, and in many cases should be a higher priority.
No, absolutely. And I think what's amazing is as you go through this journey, you start to realize, and I think you said it was happiness as an ROI, right? So how do you measure that ROI of happiness? And it's not money. Like we've talked about this multiple times, Corey and I, where people do things for money, but if it's not a bigger why you're doing something, like, the money's going to fade, and you're not going to keep being able to impact people if you're doing things for money, because people will see through that. And so the happiness as an ROI, I think that's something that is huge. And you're right. I think COVID has got, when it started, Corey and I had a conversation, and Corey said, this is either happening to us or for us, and it's our decision. And so at that time, he got furloughed, and I was still working at that time, and we started grinding on what's now become our company, because we had the time to put towards it. And now it's about creating the balance, since we're at home and kids are at home, and how do you balance all this craziness while you're working from home now, right? And instead of just transferring the 80, 90 hours you were working for someone else to working for yourself, which is very easy to do because you're passionate about it and you want it to be successful and it's fun and you don't consider it work. For most entrepreneurs, how do you create, I guess, guardrails to live by where you can have family first and you can create clear-cut stop points where you can say, okay, here is the stop point. I know I struggle with that.
Yeah. It's a great question, and it's probably the question I get most often from entrepreneurs. And I'll tell you, first and foremost, I don't think there's a perfect answer. And I don't think there's anybody out there that doesn't constantly struggle with balancing and adjusting. And I start by saying all of that, not to like get off the hook on the question. I'll give you what I've done that's effective.
Right.
But to let everybody listening know it's okay to give yourself some grace, to let go of the guilt. Because nobody is perfect, and it's something every one of us, you can say struggle with, right? Every single day to kind of find, that balance, because balance is a myth, right? I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect balance. I think we're forever trying to counterbalance to keep going forward.
Agreed.
I've never met anybody that's like, oh, everything is perfect. So, but I think there are tools, right? And I think it goes back, and Corey was talking about values earlier, and I'm a very just values-driven person, and I think most of us are. And I think it starts with getting in touch with really what we do value, and getting clear on that. Because although we all have personal values, we value different things. And I think everyone has to start with asking themselves, okay, really, like where's my values at right now at this point in my life? Like, I got this exciting passion for this entrepreneurial, focus. Awesome. That's a great thing. Like, where is that like in your priority list, right? I have, maybe you still have a job or career that is paying the bills and keeping a roof over your head. You guys, awesome. We got to be grateful that it's paying the bills. Like, where is that in the priority list? You have a significant other, or maybe you're dating, or maybe you want to find that person and that's high on your list. Obviously, if you have kids, that's a whole new level. Family, friends, social. I think it starts with getting kind of a full scope, right? Of what are the things that are important in our life. And as simple as it sounds, like you write them down. We wake up in the morning, we write down all the stuff we want to do. We got our to-do lists all over the place. Like, sure, take the same amount of time to write down, like, what is the value system that you want to operate your life by? So it starts by just making a simple list. Then I would also then ask yourself the question, because everything has to translate to time, right? So it's not just conceptually, these are the things I want to do, but like, let's be real. There's 24 hours in a day. And just because something is important doesn't mean that it's going to require or be able to receive the same amount of time. Like, you may see like your kids are the most important thing, but practicality, right, might mean you got to put food on the table, roof over their head, clothes on their back, things to provide, right? You might need to spend more time quantity wise, right, on the way that you're generating that. And you guys, that is okay. So what do you value? What's the priority? What's the time kind of percentage wise of your life, your week, your month, that you see needing to put in? And it's a target, right? It's a target. Most people won't even do these steps. They won't write down the things they value, and they won't create kind of a target time map, right, of where your time wants to go, because they're already afraid they're going to fail. Guys, you being afraid you're not going to do it and refusing to write them down, right, means you already failed, because you don't even have a target. This isn't about perfection. It's about progress. So list them out. Put the time. You have a target, at least something to strive for. Let's take it one more step further and get more tactical. Calendar, all of it. And I do, right? I have my phone here, right? I live my life by my calendar, not my job, my career, my business, my work, my entrepreneurial ventures, my life. Yes, all my business activity is for sure in the calendar. But so is my family time. So is my personal time, right? So are the things that I find important. They get into the calendar, because in my experience, if you don't schedule it, right, not only is it never going to get done, it's even worse. You're going to find that other people schedule their priorities for you. And a lot of people's other priorities are not necessarily your priority. I don't know if anybody out there can relate that, like, schedules are always full. It's just a matter of who's filling them. So those would be the steps, Ron. I know it sounds simple, but like, what's important to you? Okay. Practically, thinking practically, how much time, right, are you going to carve out toward those things? Getting down to the tactics, plan it in your calendar, right? And then adjust from there. And it's okay if you're not perfect, but adjust from there until you got something where you feel good about where you're investing your life. So I don't know if those little hacks, are what you're looking for, but those are the starting points that I've found are effective for all entrepreneurs.
Love it, Blake. All right. So let's talk about your podcast, your what is it? Walk with Blake, Walk with Me series, that things that you
Alive
do.
by Design, right? Is that what
Well,
it
the
is?
podcast is Alive
Yes.
by Design.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
But you also
But
do
his
the-
Instagram lives isn't it Walk With Me? I love those.
yeah, you guys are both right. So Alive by Design is the podcast. You can find it on all podcast platforms. And I just use it as a platform to deliver different series. But yeah, one of the series on there are the Walk With Me episodes, which I just do live on my Facebook page. And they're literally me walking in the morning at the end of my morning runs with some inspired thoughts. So that's some of them on the podcast. And then also bring inspiring thought leaders, guests, interviews, and so forth. So kind of a combination. But yeah, I started it during COVID, during quarantine last year. And it's been an awesome project for sure.
All right. So I love all of the stuff you were talking about. There's one thing that you and I talked about that resonated with me that actually was part of the catalyst for me to be able to leave my job, because you said, Ron, you have to have a runway before you leave anything. You have to create a runway of money in the bank, so you're not stressing out about money. And that resonated with me so much. I remember Corey's like, okay, let's go. I was like, runway's not there yet. And I would say that over and over again. And I remember when I was talking to Rachel, I was like, hey, here's the runway. I feel good about it. We'll be okay for a little while. And then we'll just keep adding to that runway, and we will keep adding to it. But obviously, everybody that's listening to the show has no idea what I'm saying. So I'm going to let you, if you could, explain a little bit about a runway for people. So before they leave their job, make sure this is in place.
Yeah. So for context, Ron's talking about a financial runway. In other words, if you're out there and you're contemplating making the leap into entrepreneurship, like you have the itch, you want to make the shift. Maybe you're not happy with where you're at. Maybe the whole COVID pandemic mess is forcing you to reinvent and adapt, like so many people right now. Again, we can talk about passion, which is important. We can talk about impact, which is important. We can talk about all of these inspiration. All this stuff is important, but we also have to be realistic. Well, again, there's life, there's bills, there's expenses, there's responsibilities, and you can't just jump off the cliff without a parachute. Or I wouldn't recommend it for most people. So a financial runway is just, how long can you go, right? If income stops, how long can you sustain your level of living? And for many entrepreneurs, we reduce our footprint, right? If we're going to make that leap, we try to get our level of living, our head above water, right? Income level as low as possible to extend the runway as far as possible to give us the amount of time to get our passion to work, right? And you got to be real with yourself on what that looks like. And you got to also be real with yourself, right? On how you respond in certain situations. Self-awareness is everything, not just in business, but in life. And, goes back to everybody's fear response falls into, fight, flight, freeze. We all do it, right? Anytime we get triggered, some of us, our instant reaction is to fight. We become the aggressor, right? Some of us, our reaction is to flight, to run, to hide. Some of us, our reaction is to freeze, like deer in headlights, frozen by fear, don't know what to do. And you might have different triggers that trigger different ones of each of those, but you got to be real with yourself. And I say that wrong because it's not a universal decision for like, hey, here's what you do as an entrepreneur. Because I've worked with entrepreneurs that their trigger is fight. Right. And when their back is against the wall and they have a short runway, they actually excel. They perform higher. Their urgency moves them. Like they actually can multiply their results. Right. Because that's just their nature and their response. But I've also worked with people that the minute they get that, like, it's run, hide, curl, and they almost become ineffective at trying to move forward. And I also work with people that just freeze, like completely freeze. And it's like, you can't do anything. And none of those is bad. So guys, there's not one better or the other. It is our nature. It is human. It is like hardwired in our biology. Okay. So again, this is not a guilt thing. Nobody's better than the other. But it's a self-awareness thing. Know yourself. If you're someone that, hey, back's against the wall, you perform better, you can get away with a shorter runway. If you're someone back is against the wall and you flight and that means, guys, you better have a longer runway. Otherwise, you're not going to have the confidence and the certainty and the conviction that's going to be needed to move you forward. So you got to be real with yourself. And then from there, you just got to do the math. Here's your bills. Here's your dollars. Here's what you need. Here's how you feel. But I'll also kind of debunk the myth. Like, I've watched a lot of entrepreneurs go full time too early. You don't need to. You don't need to. I think Jim Rohn is one of my favorites, right? Jim Rohn, just a classic philosopher of our generation, of our time. He passed away a little while back. I had the actually privilege of being invited to his memorial. It was amazing to see every personal growth thought leader like in the world show up to honor him. I mean, just an amazing, thinker. But he goes and he says, and I'm going to butcher it because I'm not going to get it perfect, but he basically says, look, work full time on your job and work part-time on your fortune. And if you do that long enough, pretty soon you can work part-time on your job and full-time on your fortune. And you do that long enough, pretty soon you can just work all the time on your fortune. So guys, there's nothing wrong with working full-time to keep the lights on. There's plenty of time in the day to get something going. You can start something spare time, part-time. And we live in the gig economy right now. There are so many things you can do to ramp something up. And then when you have your income coming in and secure and your runway comfortable, now you can lower the hours and make the shift. So again, easier said than done. Sometimes people are in situations they just want out of. They're toxic. They can't handle it. But we got to be real with ourselves. And I'll also say you don't need to rip the Band-Aid off instantly, especially if you do have responsibilities and priorities and things out there. If you're younger and you're by yourself, it might be easier, right? If you got family and kids and a mortgage, it might be a little more strategic. But no matter who you are, what age you're at, there is a way, right? Just to be intelligent about it. Plenty of people have done it. Now more and more people are doing it regardless because of the situation we're in and people needing to reinvent. And I think now is a perfect time if you have that feeling, right? If you want to make that shift, I think it's a perfect time for people to become entrepreneurs. We know the world needs them.
Yes, the world does need them. But I have one more question for you, Blake. And first of all, thank you for your time today. It's been a blast. But my last question for you. You like to talk about intentional living, intention around everything you're doing, intention with your calendar, right? Tell the audience, how do you get that out of people? How do you get them to understand, be intentional with basically anything and everything that you can do?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think all of us have intentions. I don't think it's a question of getting it out of somebody, right? We all have intentions of why we do what we do. I think it's more of just getting people to be aware enough to start asking themselves the right questions, to give themselves the answers they already have. And just to go into everything and realize, guys, and I say intentional living, let me qualify that. It's not just about intention. It starts there, right? It starts with, okay, what is my intention? And Corey, just to give a practical tool, I really believe it's as easy as asking yourself that question. I said it indirectly earlier, before I speak with people, I get into what is my intention here? I actually start every day like that. And I'm not making this up. Part of my morning routine, there is a part after my workout. I go through. I'm a big fan of meditation, TM. But when I'm done with all of that, I'll just ask myself, what's my 3 intentions for the day? And it'll vary day by day based on what's on my calendar for the day, but I'll just ask myself the question. And guys, your brain is a question answering machine. That is how it works, right? If you haven't figured that out yet, you ask yourself a question, you give yourself an answer. You can't help, right? So you just ask yourself the question, what's my intention? It is as easy as that. So that's the beginning. But again, I'll qualify and say intention is the beginning, but it's not everything. Okay. We got to then back our intention up with intentional action. And intentional living is that, right? So intentional living is being aware of the intention we're bringing in, but then living our life in alignment with those intentions. And I think that's the goal for all of us. And again, I'm not here to say I'm perfect by any means. I'm not. I struggle with it every day. I think everybody does, but I think that's the game of life. Like, be real and self-aware enough, right? Wake up enough to know, okay, this is the intention I want in the circumstance, and then work to live our life through action, activity, or example in alignment with those intentions. And at the end of the day, that's all we can do. But if that's what we do, I do believe you're going to achieve results because you're going to be excited and passionate and fulfilled about what you're doing, right? And at the end of the day, I think you're going to be happier in the outcome because you are living your life by your design, right? Not just by default. So that's what I mean by intentional living. And again, the simple is ask yourself, what is my intention? And then work to align your actions, right, with what you believe your intention is. I think that's the beginning.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. So I know there's people out here. One, I want to thank you for your time. So I'm very happy you joined us today. But I know there's people out there like, oh my gosh, how do I get involved with Blake? Where can I find him? Can you give him a couple quick places that they can connect with you and get into your world?
Yeah, guys, I'm super easy. So Blake Mallen, Mallen on most social platforms. So if you're watching, I'd love to connect, say hello. If you got something from this conversation, honestly, I read all my DMs. So, I mean, hit me on Instagram at Blake Mallen. Let me know what you got. Or if you share a story, give me a tag. I'll reshare it. My Facebook page, profile and page, TikTok at Blake Mallen, Twitter, etc., LinkedIn. So I'm everywhere. Find me on my name. And then, we mentioned it a couple times. I know this podcast is amazing and doing a lot of tools on marketing and branding. And I love the hindsight hacking. If you have room in your calendar for more inspiration on Alive by Design, it's really about exploring what makes us feel most alive. Which dances on a lot of the topics we've talked about here. So Alive by Design on most podcasts. And yeah, I'm available right now, building a platform. If you're someone that knows you want to become an entrepreneur, you're looking for something, you need to reinvent, but you don't know where to start, hit me up. That's what I do for a living, is I give people vehicles and wrap communities and mentors around them, right, to move forward. So if that's you and you want to go, but don't have a vehicle to get you there, would love to connect.
Perfect. All right, Blake, thanks so much for today and your time, and we'll definitely be in touch soon.
Enjoy. Thank you, guys. This is fun.
Thanks, Blake.
All right. So when you have somebody you look up to and on your show, right? Like, you got to take lots and lots of notes, I'm sure. I'm sure you've got a bunch over there for us. Hopefully only 2 takeaways, though.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start with 2 takeaways. So let's talk about this. I'm going to try to do it for the listeners so they can take some action tomorrow. So takeaways.
So shift the script, shifting.
Right.
Start the TED Talk.
That's a no-brainer. Like, if you haven't done that already, we've talked about it multiple times. The show notes are going to be in there. Like, come on. All right. So let's do some exercises. So instead of takeaways, we're going to give you some homework. Ooh, different. Write down your values. So that's going to be number 1, right? And then part of number 1, the time map. I loved that. I was like, oh my gosh, like maybe that's what I need to do. So I'm actually going to challenge myself to do that. Then the other piece is work on your personal brand, because that will not only amplify your business, but it's going to amplify your impact. And if you can amplify your impact, you've done what you were called to do.
100% agree. Definitely on that one. But I have one more for those folks that have any fear. You can be shy, insecure, afraid to read out loud in a classroom, to speaking to 18,000 plus people in an arena by just going and doing it over and over and over and over and over, and just keep going.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Such a good episode. I'm going to go listen to it again.
Yeah. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. If you are watching this live, let us know your thoughts on in our group, on our profiles, on YouTube, or, if you catch this on the next few days on iTunes, iHeartRadio, or anywhere where you're going, leave us a review. Let us know what your thoughts were. We'd love to hear from you. And as always, thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. And make sure you are speaking from the heart so you can impact who you're supposed to be impacting.
All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And you know what? If you're not already a member of our Facebook group, what are you waiting for? Head on over facebook.com/groups/profits with.
Guys, we are super excited to have you be a part of our community and help you get more visible, get more traffic, and get more sales.
That's right, Ron. And every time someone is in our group, we get to share all the tips, the tricks, and everything that you can get profits with from your summits, your challenges, your workshops, your podcasts, your vodcasts, and so much more.
Guys, thanks for being the best part of the Hindsight Hackers.